Well, good evening and welcome to Freedom Mentor Live. I'm your host, Phil Pustiowski. I'm also joined by my co-host, Brian Bush. Welcome, Brian.
Hey Phil, how are you?
I am fantastic. Tonight, we talk about law changes and how that is going to impact real estate investors. As I've gotten older and as I've gotten more and more experience, I have learned that no matter how smart you are, no matter how clever and creative your ideas can be, if they're not within the laws, it's not going to work.
Yep.
And I know for some of you, you may have experienced the insanity of trying to build a home or add an addition to your home or add a tree house and you've been bombarded with the bureaucracy of permitting and the rules. And what I've also discovered is as I've gotten older, we've stacked law on top of law on top of law. Brian, they don't call them law takers. They call them law makers.
I was actually talking to a police officer a couple weeks ago, and he's been a cop for I think 36 years. He said, we still, and this is here in my area of Texas, we still have laws on the books about how you hitch your horse to the hitching post. Still on the books. Nothing
Yeah,
goes away.
doesn't go away. It just collects.
Yep.
Well, let's see where everybody's coming to us from here tonight. This will be especially important because we'll be talking about laws, including at the state level. So we have Ricky from Texas, Michael from Wisconsin. Okay. We've got Lindy. Hey, Lindy from Nevada. And Jose. Hey, Jose from Indiana. Excellent. All right. For those of you who may not know, I'm coming to you from Florida. I moved from Tennessee. That's now been 16 years. And boy, has it been wonderful being in Florida. The laws are a lot better here. Something strange about Tennessee is they had business taxes. And so now they may not have it anymore, but back then they had income taxes on your business, and that just drove me crazy. So I did everything under the sun to try to avoid those business income taxes by setting up a trust, Ryan, and then I had partnerships, and it was ridiculous. Hope from California, or is it Hope for California? We're all hoping California, the best for California. Steve Ruskin. I don't know which state Ruskin is in. Is that Ruskin, Florida? Maybe it is. We got Kansas for Elizabeth. All right. We got a great group here. Okay, super. So that out of pure curiosity, just so that I don't step on any toes tonight, talking about laws. Um, and don't worry, we don't know who you are, but I want to see what's our political party affiliation out here of our group. Um, just so you know, I'm a libertarian. I want less laws. Now, I guess there are different grades of libertarian, right? So I guess you'd call me more of a conservative libertarian, but uh, my hope is that we would have less laws because I believe in Adam Smith's invisible hand. I believe that the market does correct itself based on the greed of wanting to benefit. And so I think that that is one of the greater systems of our world. But certainly the rule of law is very, very important. So um, yeah, I just want to see where people land. Now, usually when I'm voting, of course, there's not many libertarian candidates, so I typically vote Republican, sort of usually. But yeah, this does play a role as we discuss these different law changes and how that impacts you as a real estate investor. Okay, all right. Well, here's what we got, Brian. Our group is either Republican or none of the above. Hey, no worries. Sounds good. All right, y'all. Well, let's dive into these laws. Now we have to start at the federal level, Brian, and that's this 21st century was it Road to Housing Act, something along those lines. What are some of the bigger items that matter to real estate investors that are in there?
Well, the big one everyone was waiting for is restrictions on large institutional investors, right? All these huge conglomerates, BlackRock and so forth, that have bought up a huge amount of housing. and are turning us, as some would say, into a nation of renters. They're outbidding regular folks and driving up the price of homes. So that has now been dialed back. Of course, it's going to take some time to kind of see how that fleshes out. But that was the big one that they got put in there.
Now, we had a guest on here several months ago, and he actually flips properties to those institutional investors. So, and then he became one himself. He built up a fund. So I remember he was eyeing this closely. So I think there's a limit. I don't know if it's 50. Some of y'all might have looked at the exact numbers, but yeah, this is going to have some impact in certain communities. Now, in most of the places that we've operated, that really hasn't been very pervasive. Uh, if anything, it's helped us make more money because we just flip properties to them. But yeah, it's certainly going to increase inventories in certain situations. Now, so y'all know, more inventory is something that real estate agents want. Real estate agents want as many opportunities to sell as they can, or as many opportunities to provide homes for buyers, because they're making a commission essentially either way. As real estate investors, we kind of like lower inventory levels. So I think in a way this ultimately in certain markets may not benefit those that are trying to flip a house right now, because if now you don't get the benefit of some institutional buyer on Wall Street that's taking up inventory, but instead you now have to rely on the normal home buyer who's getting what almost 7% interest rate loan, they're going to be a lot pickier, right? They're going to want everything to be fixed up, and we've seen that trend, right, Brian, where they want the houses to be totally fixed up. So if you're in a market where there is a lot of institutional buyers, if that's the situation you're in, be aware that inventory levels are going to rise. And because of that, you just need to negotiate wisely with sellers. One of the things that you're going to hear Brian and I talk about tonight is that whatever the law changes are, we make adjustments so that it's to our benefit wherever possible. So we try to use law changes as winds at our back. And so that we're not caught off guard. It doesn't change our entire financial future, but it does require us to weave and bob a little bit. It requires us to adjust a little bit. So with this institutional I guess they call it the first ever federal restriction on large institutional investors buying single family homes. Just keep an eye out that there might be some more inventory, and that may or may not help you as much in those markets. So yeah, that's the first big one. The next thing that's come out from that federal legislation is they did overhaul certain things within housing and urban development, the HUD department. But the problem is, it's not necessarily anything that essentially applies specifically to what we do. At least we couldn't find any examples of that. So I think that's more like almost like a nothing burger, right? I mean, there's not much that's going to happen there. Really, where the rubber meets the road for most of you all is not at the federal level. It's at the state level. All right. So we've got Kansas, we've got California, we've got Florida, we've got Nevada, Wisconsin, Indiana. Anybody else here? If y'all haven't posted in the chat, post in the chat what state you're located in, because we're going to be talking about state level things right now, and this is super important. This could be game changing for you. Um, all right, so I'll turn to California. Um, oh, Pennsylvania. Okay. All right, good, good. I'll have some things to talk about in Pennsylvania too. So, California, there have been continued attempts at rent controls. Go in, put in the chat there. Oh, we got Minnesota as well. Miriam, great. Put in the chat if you think rent controls are good in any way, good for investors, good for tenants, good for the community. Are rent controls good? Go ahead and put in the chat if you think that rent controls are good. And if you don't know what rent controls are, that's where the government puts a cap on how much a landlord can rent a property for. That's rent controls. Let me know if you think that rent controls could be good. And by the way, if you all could, when you're putting in the chat, there's a little two, and then there's a drop down for everyone or for host and panelist. Feel free to do everyone. Um, it says good for tenant, not good for landlord. All right, Johnny, I want to talk with everybody about this. All right, so some people think that rent controls are good. Interesting. Others are saying no. Well, I would encourage you all to, and here I'm going to show you on the screen. I'd encourage you all to after this this Zoom, go to John, type in John Stossel rent control. How rent control hurts renters. It's only 7 minutes long. An investigative reporter, John Stossel, I think he used to be on 2020, Brian. He was on some shows back in the day. I'm 46, so I still remember watching him. But he created this independent um, YouTube channel, this program, and he does a great job here in this video describing how rent controls hurt renters. It turns out that in Minnesota, um, let me scroll back up. Who's in Minnesota here? Miriam. In Minnesota, they had a situation where Minneapolis did not have rent controls and St. Paul did. And these are two big cities right next to each other, separated by a river. And in this YouTube program, you're going to see where Stossel shows the devastation that occurs for renters and for landlords and for everybody in between um, to have rent controls. So check that out. Only 6 minutes, and it's extremely educational. Once you all see what happens with rent controls, it shows how it actually hurts tenants. So if you're in a community where rent controls are potentially um, encroaching, uh, that would be an example of where you would not want to own rental property. You would not want to own rental property there. So keep that in mind. And many of you are not in a situation or in a community where rent controls are a problem. Now it looks like from what's happening in Massachusetts that that's not going to be on the ballot. Rent controls. It was struck down by the Supreme Court of Massachusetts. So if you're in Mass, good news, rent controls are not coming, at least for now. But if you're in a community where rent controls could be encroaching, that would be a time to sell your rental property. That's trouble. If those things come through, that hurts landlords, hurts renters, hurts everybody. Nobody wins. All right, so rent control is kind of an easy layup move there. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. How rent control hurts renters. That's really good. Yeah, and again, you'll see on there, it's not good for tenants either. So here's what's happening across America, and we've talked about this, Brian, more recently in kind of the different trends, like we had Devin on here. Inventory levels. That is the number of apartments for rent. That's the number of houses for sale. As inventory levels rise relative to demand, prices come down, rents come down. So when you incentivize building and construction, you create this natural balance where rates come, where whether it's the cost of the house, whether it's the rental rate, it comes down. So in Florida right now, there's a lot of communities where prices have come down. There's parts across the country where prices have come down. We have a student that's doing a deal right now. They bought the property at 230,000. This is Jabril, Brian. Bought the property for 230,000, put $100,000 into it, and they thought they were going to sell the property for 550. All right, if you're doing the math in your head, y'all, they're in the deal at 330. Thought they were going to sell it for 550. They just finally got a buyer after 45 days at like 420. Now, they did some of their comps research was not on point, but that market was slow too. And so they're still going to make a lot of profit, right? Between 330 and 420 after commissions and closing costs. Don't worry, don't cry for them. They're still going to make $80,000. I say them, it's Jabril and his team. But that's real. Prices do come down. Now, one of the things that's been added in the federal legislation is to free up some of that gridlock that's occurring at the local level to allow builders to build. I don't know how many of you have tried to build something, tried to develop anything, but local governments make it absolutely impossible these days. So allowing more inventory, that's your natural solution to bring down prices. So why would bringing down prices help? Look, maybe some of you all right now are looking to buy a primary residence. Maybe some of you are looking to buy rental property and you want the prices to come down so it cash flows better. Maybe you're a renter and you want the rents to come down. If there is enough construction, enough building, enough inventory going on, prices come down. So, what we're seeing is in the states where laws were more flexible for building, Florida, Brian's in Texas, Arizona, rates, I mean, the inventory levels have gone up, and in some cases, prices have come down a little bit. So, uh, on a local level, you can, and I've showed this many times, you can go to Zillow, you can go to the sell tab, and you can go to home values, and you can put in your zip code and find out where prices have gone the last year. Heck, these days you can ask AI for your community, and that can head you off any major projects. And let's say you're doing a long-term rehab, you'll know not to pay too much if you're in a market where things are slowing down. All right, so Brian, I want to talk about an exciting topic, and that is wholesaling. Um, so prior to tonight, we were making sure we had every detail, our ducks in a row on the different changes with wholesaling. So tell the group a little bit more about just 30,000 foot view of where wholesaling has now become, quote, illegal and what it is that they're requiring, quote, wholesalers to do.
Yeah, and a lot of this, of course, has been pursued by the realtors who, as you said earlier, they want to make commission. They want to make sure that they're going to be part of transactions. So there are certainly plenty of investors, quote unquote, that are going to get a property under contract, try to pop it on MLS. However, they're not in any way, shape, or form following very good rules and protocols and standards, can leave sellers in the lurch and end up causing a lot of damage. And as a result, they get on the radar. And again, these are potential lost commissions. So a lot of these states step in and start to regulate, and they start to make it harder so that investors have to either get a license or they just can't market the property until they own the property. And we could get into things like equitable interest. So a lot of these restrictions have been put on South Carolina, Oklahoma for many years. There's some new things being added to North Carolina, kind of following suit to South Carolina. Pennsylvania has added a license requirement, Kentucky, Nebraska, Illinois. So there are states starting, hopefully not to totally fall like dominoes, but about half the country is beginning to put something in place to recognize and slow down, in the name of consumer protection. And of course, a lot of lobbying by the the Association of Realtors. So part of what we've dealt with for many years is it's unfolding. And of course, we know how to bob and weave and shift methods to still be effective.
Yeah. Great overview, Brian. Thank you. So does that make sense, everybody? What's happened is wholesaling, the art of getting a property under contract and then putting it up for sale before you own it, before you're the title holder, and then making the money in the middle. This has now come under scrutiny, not only because of bad actors, but as Brian said, because real estate agents want more commissions. They have an incredibly powerful lobbying system, both at the state level and at the federal level. I've been on the Capitol in Florida lobbying for law change. And I've seen the power and how many people, how many realtors can show up on a Tuesday. Let's say it's real estate, it's like the real estate cause on the Hill for that day. And my goodness, they come out in droves. They have power, far more than real estate investors. Real estate investors aren't banding together to lobby for change. And so real estate agents have a lot of power at the legislative level. And what they've tried to do is somehow force wholesalers to get a license in order to wholesale. So let me throw out, okay, so Brian mentioned South Carolina. They've effectively banned all wholesaling unless you have a license. The way we get around it, we get on title. We become the title holder using creative terms, subject to owner financing, We become the title holders, and then there's no law that can regulate essentially us with reselling that property. Okay, great. Tom, you are in. Excellent. Illinois has been like this for a couple of years now. It's very interesting. Illinois, in it, I don't know how much it's been challenged in court, either at the circuit court level, certainly at the appellate court level, or at Illinois Supreme Court level. But they have a rule where if you do more than one real estate investing deal a year in Illinois, you have to get a real estate license. So kind of like I guess the car business is like that, Brian. I've been told you can only sell so many used cars before you have to get licensed as a used car dealer. I don't know if some of y'all have seen that where somebody always has a used car in their front yard, always selling a used car. So Illinois, you've got to be you got to be careful there if you're going to be conducting real estate investing without a license. Pennsylvania license is now required as of January 4th, 2025. The license may not necessarily be a real estate license. And in fact, Philadelphia has its own wholesaler license. Interestingly enough, y'all, Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, that law came into existence because the guy who became mayor was the condo developer king of Philadelphia. And he just wanted that in there. I guess because it was driving him nuts that wholesalers were flipping his condos or something. Also, Philadelphia has the most expensive transfer tax in America, 4%. You'll be very careful about that when you're doing deals in Philadelphia. If you haven't priced that in, you all of a sudden the profit you thought you were going to make on your deal is gone from a tax. As you can see, Brian, myself, and our team, we have tremendous experience across the United States. We see all these different angles, and what we're able to do is navigate around them. It said Wisconsin partake in that. Okay, your question. Well, Wisconsin has a new disclosure rule, and so if in there, then there's a broker trigger after 5 deals a year. Okay, so you, and again, you can ask AI chat or Claude or Google Gemini specifically, but that's Act 208 in Wisconsin. The other thing that Wisconsin put into place, which is not necessarily on a wholesaler's radar screen, they recently put in place where you can't record a protective document when you get a deal under contract. And that impacts everybody from real estate investors to agents. So when you do deals in Wisconsin, just be aware that it's not a deal until the day it closes because they can basically back out. And since you can't record a protective instrument, there's just that risk there they could back out. Okay. So in Minnesota, we had somebody from Minnesota, 4 deals a year are allowed without a license. The fifth one triggers a broker requirement. And by the way, all of these things are relatively brand new. This is coming out because a few years ago, it was first pioneered by Illinois and Oklahoma, then Nebraska, then South Carolina, and now you're hearing from Wisconsin. We just mentioned Minnesota. Now, others are more disclosure related. Now, disclosure's a little different, right? It's part of the paperwork. And so if you've got a disclosure requirement like Ohio, Maryland, Oregon, those are a little bit simpler. Connecticut, you have to do a 3-day right to cancel, and you have a 90-day as the max closing distance. I mean, all of these, as you can see, they're a little different here and there, but you eliminate any concerns if you become the owner of the property. But in the states that have like this 5-deal-a-year rule, you just go do your 5 deals, and then after that, you can go get your real estate license. I've been a licensed real estate agent since I'm going to say 2004. So yeah, that's going on 22 years. So you all, this is not a big deal. You get your real estate license, and then opens up new opportunities to make money. But this is where we are. Remember, I started off this conversation that I don't like more laws. I like when we let economics dictate what works and what doesn't. And if a wholesaler doesn't treat a seller right, they're not going to be in business long. And the ones that treat them right will be in business a lot longer. They'll get more business, and Adam Smith's invisible hand will take over. So, all right. Yeah. What is the law in South Carolina now, Scott? The law in South Carolina is the most restrictive for wholesaling, essentially, of any state. And I remember when it first came out a couple of years ago, the people that put it together were so proud of themselves. They're like, "Oh, we locked it down." The law is simply you have to get a real estate license, but then real estate licensees can't do wholesale. I'm not kidding. Law number one, you have to be a licensed real estate agent to wholesale. And then the second part of the law, licensed real estate agents can't wholesale. That's what they did.
And they waited
So,
a period of time in between. They let you think there was hope. Get a
oh
license and
yeah,
you'll be good. And after you've stepped into the trap, then they sprung the trap and let you know you can't do it.
that's exactly
Yep.
right. So in South Carolina, become the title holder. And this is where creative real estate investing techniques are absolutely essential. We've talked about this many times, and you'll hear me say this a lot. This is the best small business in America. Connecting with motivated sellers, structuring deals, reselling those deals. Sometimes you do a little bit of fix up for them, sometimes you don't. You make a lot of money. It's great. You have tremendous freedom, flexibility. It's fun. You help people. It's an amazing, amazing business. But you do have to navigate these different laws and rules, and they keep adding. Legislators keep adding because they're lawmakers. But when you're able to navigate through these the way we do, here's where it's a benefit, Scott. Here's where it's a benefit for those of you that are in Wisconsin, or you're in Oklahoma, or you're in North Carolina, you're in Illinois. What's so wonderful is these rules cut out a lot of your competition. So I understand from my perspective, legislatively, I wish we had less laws. I mean, that's kind of my political perspective. But hey, if we are where we are, if that's the rules, that's the rules of the land, you play by them, and you have less competition. So Warren Buffett, many of you may know, recognize that name, one of the wealthiest people in the world, one of the most successful investors of all time. When he's evaluating a business that he's going to buy, let's say the stocks, or buy the whole thing, the whole company, not just a portion of it, he looks for a moat. He looks for a moat being this protective ditch, water around a castle. He looks for a moat that protects the business from competition. And these laws actually create a moat because when you know exactly how to connect with motivated sellers and get on title and then sell the property, but still not have the risks and hassles, you make more money. So, as we share these things with you, realize that for Brian and I, every new law, at first you're just like, oh, why another law? But then we turn it into an advantage and we have less competition. The people in our group that are doing deals in these states I've mentioned, they are doing more deals now. They have less competition. Okay, so Tom, because I was getting late, do I now need a real estate license to do business in California? No. California does not have any of these brand new wholesaling law restrictions. No, they don't. I've heard people over the years, by the way, Brian, they tell me, oh, California is different, Phil. They're very restrictive. We've never seen that on the real estate side, have we?
No, not at all. Everything's just overpriced.
Yeah, California is great. So all right, this gets interesting. Virginia is also you have to be careful as far as falling into the trap of maybe getting needing a license. Like I mentioned, Nebraska is in that zone. I have and you could put this in the if you could put this in the chat, Stephanie. It's how wholesaling, is wholesaling real estate illegal? Is wholesaling real estate illegal? That is something that I continue to update, and that's state by state on these real estate licensing and wholesaling laws. Very, very helpful resource for you. Um, now, Brian, everything's bigger and better in Texas, right? Y'all, Texas is the only state in America where there's a specific wholesaling law that permits where wholesaling is legal. So Texas just went out and said, we want wholesalers. It's specifically in the laws. Um, and yeah, please drop into the chat if you'd like to know more about your state, because yeah, this is a big part of our business. We like to do deals where we have limited to no risk. And that's what's nice when you can put a property up for sale where you are not the owner. It's a marvelous formula. But in the states where that's required, we get on title. So yeah, Brian, anything else to add to this discussion on wholesaling restrictive laws in some of these different states?
I think the first thing to keep in mind, of course, we're all reminded of Reagan's quote, I think it is, right? I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Whether they're trying to protect homeowners or whoever they're trying to protect, these laws get put into place, but there's always exceptions. There's a ton of language, and it takes a little time for it to kind of work itself out. I'm reminded that, while you're saying Texas, we're very free in the wholesaling sense. We had laws that went in place over 20 years ago that restricted, of all things, lease options.
Yeah,
And of course, no one wanted to become the poster child for that. And no one really has. It's just kind of been something you have to walk around and make sure you don't grossly violate. So a lot of the laws get put in. There's always exceptions, carve outs, and other pieces that people are trying to find ways to get around. The folks that don't know what they're doing, don't have the right guidance, they just go to greener pastures, right? They're not going to get caught in between. Nobody wants to get fined or go to jail or anything else. So it really comes back to getting to know what the real regulations are, having the methodology, the different ways to approach and different techniques that we have where we just simply adjust. I was having conversation with one of our graduates in Louisiana where there's also some new laws going into place, I think August 1st. And we just discussed where's this going to take him. He's just simply shifting a little bit his approach and how he does business. It in no way is going to shut down. At the end of the day, it's going to bring him more, as you said, because there will be less competition as a result. And we've been doing this for several decades and never seen something that comes into place that shuts anybody down. It just causes a shift, which we're good
yeah.
at doing.
Yeah, and if I haven't already shared this with everybody, we're not giving you legal advice. This is pointing you in the right direction. This is showing you like the overall strategy as a result of these law changes. Get an attorney, and they work for you. So what you do is you do your independent research, get AI to help you with it, ask that attorney questions, and then ask the attorney how it can be done. You see, it's it's navigating around the laws where you get your big money zones. I do a ton of that. I've done a lot of that here in Florida. I did a lot of it in Tennessee. You heard me talking about avoiding business income taxes. There are exceptions to every law. There has to be a lot. So you'll see that it applies, but not for the following A, B, C, or D, and you find a way to fit within one of those. So get with an attorney, but at the same time, be aware that they work for you, and you need to put them to work. How do we get around this? What are some creative solutions? What have other people done? All right. Speaking of attorneys, we have always recommended that an inexpensive way to do that is one of those flat fee attorneys. Groups like LegalZoom, Rocket Lawyer. The predecessor to that was called Legal Shield. These are companies where they charge you, a nominal monthly fee, and you can get competent legal advice. It's a great way to do it on the cheap. And you put them to work and you ask them those questions, and you put AI to work on it as well to find loopholes. All right, so a question, you got some great questions that have come in. What about Indiana? What about Indiana? So Indiana is a disclosure. There's going to be a disclosure you need to do in Indiana. So you look that up. But again, it's just a disclosure if you're going to be wholesaling. If you're not wholesaling, if you're getting on title, then you don't even need the disclosure. Um, it said, Tom, you had asked, if I go forward and get a real estate license in California, will it be viewed as acceptable? Okay, I want to touch on this question. You get your real estate license primarily as a way to make more money. It's going to be expensive to get your license. You're going to have to go through all these classes and it's going to take time and you're going to have to pay a bunch of fees you didn't even imagine you'd have to pay. So getting a real estate license is expensive, but it opens up the opportunity for you to make a lot more money. Here's the thing about getting a real estate license as an investor. You're held to a higher standard. So if you're in a state like California, that to the best of my knowledge, and again, you run this past your attorney, you don't need a real estate license to conduct a wholesale transaction. Then you add that extra scrutiny on yourself. And that's both a benefit because it makes you more money, but then there's the drawback. When you have your real estate license, people can file a complaint with the real estate board, and more specifically, the Board of Realtors. Now, it's called CREC, the California Real Estate Commission. They may or may not investigate some complaint. They may not care, but your Board of Realtors will. And then they might fine you or whatever, even if you did everything right. So, as a real estate licensed agent, just be aware that there's more scrutiny. And so I mean, you have to weigh the pros and the cons. That's something we do a lot with our students as they meet that juncture. What I love about the real estate license is you get a lot more commissions from different circumstances. A friend or family member wants to buy a house, they want to sell a house. That license is a license to print money, but it does hold you to more scrutiny. And I have had to go in front of the realtor board before, and I won, of course, but it is annoying. Okay, good question. So, which law do you have to follow if you're wholesaling remotely? Oh, you have to follow the law where the property's located. I am not a fan of remote wholesaling at all. Not a fan at all. By the way, that deal I explained earlier that they bought it for 230, put 100,000 in renovations and thought they would sell it for 550. That was a long distance deal. They're located in Pennsylvania. They had this close friend that wanted to do deals in North Carolina, and it was a rural part of North Carolina, Haywood County, and they didn't know much about it. I did not recommend they did it. Now again, there's enough room in the deal. It's still going to make a couple of bucks, but don't long distance wholesale. You need to bloom where you're planted, right in your own backyard. That's where your profit zone is. You get to master your laws there. You find your loopholes. You have your good attorney to help you. You have your title company and all the different team members. I am not a fan of long distance wholesaling. It just is not. It's not a viable, productive business model. Good question. It's where the property is located. And by the way, if you're doing interstate business, that could open up a whole new set of laws you didn't even know. If you do deals in California, but you live elsewhere, we've had some students that live in Nevada, for example, Lindy, they live right there. Joel did a few of these, and he did some deals in California, and he got hit with a giant tax it's a withholding. Um, so I'm just not a big fan of interstate business with what we do. Stay right in your zone. Um, Hope you can Google flat fee legal services. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a simple way to get there. But Rocket Lawyer, LegalZoom, and Legal Shield are three big companies. The way they work, by the way, y'all, is they work with a large statewide firm. Let's say in California, they'll work with a giant law firm in California that has attorneys throughout the state. So you're basically dealing with one law firm. Okay.
Well, if I can throw in there when it comes
Yeah.
to wholesaling out of state, I think that always stems from there's some problem, some law, some restriction. The grass is always greener on the other side. And instead of finding the right guidance to learn how to do business locally, which, as you said, is tremendously easier when you can be on the ground, build your team, be in the property versus trying to rely on technology and hope that whoever's going over there is telling you the right thing. You don't know your product. You're trying to market. It's just very difficult to do. And invariably, you set up in multiple arenas and then you're really spread thin. So again, I think the answer goes back to if there are things keeping you from investing where you are, as you said, bloom where you're planted. Uh, don't just think go somewhere else. Think, how do I get the right guidance and counsel and help to learn how to do it right where I'm located, which is going to make you a lot more money.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I love that point. Y'all, the grass is not greener. I love Brian's point. Texas has a law for wholesaling, but a law for lease options. I mean, you have big wins where you're located. You bloom where you're planted. By the way, I want to also point this out. We've been talking about wholesaling laws. Another thing I want you to look up for your state are foreclosure laws related to interacting with someone in foreclosure. A lot of these laws came out after the bubble burst in 2008. Okay. And so these laws would be a little bit older, but like Maryland is one of them. And you just have to be careful in how you interact with someone once they are past due. The state of Washington, we have somebody here tonight from the state of Washington. Look up the foreclosure law for the state of Washington. Sometimes I think it's called the foreclosure consultant law. We have it on our website as well. You got to watch out for those as well. If you're dealing with someone who's far past due on their payments, um, that's a whole new set of regulations that you have to be cognizant of. And um, and again, it's one of those things where the question was, Tom, you said, is a real estate license nationwide? No, it is not. Real estate license are state specific. So Zillow has had a heck of a time. They ended up getting brokerage licensed in every state. They got in big trouble for this because they got some massive lawsuits against them years ago because they weren't licensed agents in every state. So yeah, you first of all do business in one state, and second of all, that license only applies to that state. And by the way, having a license, it does have continuing education requirements. I mean, I've been taking continuing education classes for 22 years. It's a pain, and it comes up, Brian, the least opportune time. You just get that notification. Oh, 48 hours of licensing time you need to do for your continuing ed, and you're like, oh.
But at least
So
you can do them online now. You used to have to drive to a class, right?
that's true. They are online now. Yeah, and they
If I
they,
can
they
throw in there, when it comes to getting a license, which, as you said, you've been licensed for a couple decades, it's not as if having a license isn't a great benefit. For some of the folks on this tonight might be licensed, great. But if you're not and you're thinking, hey, I might want to add that tool to my toolbox, I'd encourage you to do it at the right time. I would highly recommend that you learn real estate, especially what we're focused on, creative real estate, not traditional. Learn creative real estate first, because if you go to take a license, your licensing classes, you will learn zero about creative real estate, and you will, in one sense, be directed and tainted one direction only, and perhaps be even shared some information that's not accurate because people just don't know. I mean, we don't talk to any realtors along the way that know how to do what we do. That's why when sellers reach out to us, they've talked to three or four realtors that can't solve their problem due to the unique nature of it. And we go, oh, yeah, we know exactly what to do. And we can absolutely just put a smile on their face, and the clouds part and the rain goes away because we have solutions the agent knows nothing about. So I would just implore you, if you are thinking about getting a license as an investor, make sure you grow into that. Start doing
yeah,
some deals. Get to the point where you have enough leads coming in that, hey, I need to refer some of these out and get paid for them. Getting a license, I could start having it pay for itself, because otherwise, as you said, Phil, it's not cheap to carry your license.
that's exactly right. That's great advice, Brian. Yeah, you all, and I want to bring up something else very, very important. So I was talking with a small business owner recently, and we were talking about this whole topic of just overburdened regulations, that there's just so many laws. And so your first reaction as an entrepreneur and as someone who wants to make money is, well, is there something that has less laws? The answer is no. Whether you've got a landscaping company or a restaurant or a consulting firm, you name it, there are so many regulations. What I love so much about real estate is that it's a basic human necessity. Everybody needs a place to live. And so there's only so many regulations they can add to the transacting because they still want people to have a home. They still love it when investors buy properties, fix them up, and resell them. So the winds are always at our backs, even when you have a few of these different regulations drop in. So the grass isn't greener either in a different state than where you're operating, and it's not greener in a different business either, even though we've got regulations. We work within them. We use these to our advantages so that we can have less competition and do more deals and make more money. I hope to some degree you all are like, wow, there's a lot to this. There is. That's why you hire us. That's why you work with Brian and my team and I, because what we're doing is we're getting way up ahead of this, so that you step in to something that's already been dialed in. You're not a pioneer. You're not even a settler. You're just moving into an already proven model, a proven business system, and in something that's proven over the course of decades. As more and more law changes, we're still just humming. And you've probably met people in your life that used to be in a business, but then the law changed and now it's no good. Brian, I was talking to someone. I guess these solar tax credits in Texas or something, things have changed and the business is not as good anymore. And there, it was one thing after another, like, well, that's no longer as good as it used to be. Real estate, it's better than ever. We have less competition. We have plenty of opportunity. Everybody needs a place to live. And so when you get behind a group like us, where we can help you navigate through some of these things and put you in the right position, what you end up experiencing is a windfall. You get a moat around your castle. And look, like I said, I would rather have less laws, but if we're going to have more, we might as well use them to our advantage, right, y'all?
Yep.
Well, what other questions might you all have about all this good stuff, about these different law changes? Um, Again, we're we're in a universe where these laws just keep coming and keep coming. I recommend you and ask AI what laws are going to be on the ballot. Um, a lot of states are going to be adding some amendments to the ballot, for example, where it could lower your property taxes. Florida is one of them. And I've already seen it's happening everywhere, Brian. It's usually published in news articles, not like paid ads, but just news articles that this county is not going to be able to pay for school if they drop the property taxes. It's not at all what this amendment says in Florida. So get to know what the truth of those amendments are in this legislative session, everybody. Get to know the truth so that you can make an informed decision. Know who your candidates are. Reach out to them. Get to know what they stand for at the local level. For some of you, maybe you are doing more significant renovation projects or building a house, or get to know your legislators at the local level, your county commissioners, your city leaders, all the way up to your state level and federal level. Now's the time to do it. It's an election year. Get to know what they stand for. And I mean, we're in a democratic republic. Utilize your power to vote. I know you're just one person, but it still matters. You need to be informed of what's going on because this is this is happening. We have an election year. There's going to be things on the ballot that could impact you, whether it's property taxes or other things. And at the very least, be educated so that you can make an informed decision. Any comments concerning Kansas? Any content? Well, I'll tell you, I actually flat out love Kansas. Not only does Kansas at this point not have anything specifically against wholesaling, creative real estate investing, Kansas is one of a few states that have right of redemptions. Michigan's another one. Kansas has a right of redemption that supersedes whatever was in the deed of trust, and that is a home run. I have trainings on that subject. Right of redemptions is the greatest investing tool since sliced bread, but only those in Kansas and Michigan can really take advantage of it. A few other states, in rare situations like Washington, if it's a non-judicial foreclosure, which are very rare, usually from an HOA lien or those kind of things, you might get one. Those are magic. We've made a ton of money, Elizabeth, in Kansas from right of redemptions. A ton of money. They're awesome. So as you can see, this is our world, y'all. Like every state has its wins. We know what our wins are. Right redemption. Again, you can go to our website. You can type in. There's a search box redemption. Real quick, we're running short on time. A right of redemption is where after a foreclosure, the seller has the opportunity to redeem or buy back the property that just went to foreclosure. But you can have them transfer their redemption to you through a quitclaim deed, and then you just sell the property. Oh, we made so much money with that. You see where there's so much profit in the details, in the angles. This is what we've done for a career. When Brian first met me, I had mastered the art of short sales, and we're doing it so well. We made so much money from it. We play by the rules, and we do it in such a way that profits. So when you're a part of our group, we share this wisdom with you, and we work with you step by step until you've made a ton of money. Specifically, our apprentice program is set where we work with you until you make $500,000 net profit. What I mean by net is after all expenses. We're talking after closing costs, commissions, even the cost of the marketing, all that stuff, net profits. And what we do is we share in that 50-50. Now, Brian, why is it such a benefit to someone to work with a group like ours where we share in profits? Where is that such
Because it
an
brings
advantage to
our
the investor?
Yeah, it brings our interests in alignment with you because we want you to make money. When you make money, we make money. So it's so very important that, there's a lot of people out there that might sell a book or a course or something else. And once they've made their money off you, see you later. That's where we're just getting started. We want to get you educated, but we want to be with you step by step along the way to make sure that you learn this business, do deals, consistently close deals to transform your life because we're going to benefit from it, but you're going to change your life. So it's the perfect model. It took me a while when I first met you, and you
Mm.
were teaching about short sales. I had seen a few people out there that teach this and teach that, and they seem to shift and move all the time. And so I wasn't quite sure about this whole program. I don't know. And at one point it dawned on me after I'd spent 3 months not getting anywhere that you know what? He's right. 50% of something is a heck of a lot better than 100% of nothing. And when that clicked, everything changed.
Most real estate success comes as a result of collaboration, big deals, small deals. So we found that when we tied our success to the success of the people that we worked with, that ultimately it would create a better result, and it has. We create money that didn't exist before. It wasn't deals that they would have normally done on their own. It is we created opportunity that previously was not even there. And so 50% of something is a whole lot more than 100% of nothing. So that's our apprentice program. And we have availability right now for some new entrants. So if this is something that you're serious about, if you're looking at this opportunity of creative real estate investing and flipping houses, and you're seeing this as an opportunity for you to create more freedom in your schedule, to have more money in your bank account, more options, more choices. I know that money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys choices, it buys options, it buys flexibility. It offers you the opportunity to decide what you want to do rather than doing what you have to do. It allows you to give back more. Boy, that's a wonderful thing. I know for me, it's always been very special to be able to give back and to do things for people that really need it. It allows you to, in some cases, save so much time because you don't have to keep driving that lousy car, or you don't have to be dealing with a refrigerator that continues to break down and you keep paying the appliance guy and he keeps saying just buy a new one and you're like, I can't. No, more money, more options, more choices, more freedom, more flexibility, more time to do what you want. And we help you do that through this program by walking you step by step through creative real estate investing deals. It's not one deal, it's a bunch of deals. We show you how to find them. We show you how to connect with the sellers. We help you with the funding in situations where funding is necessary. Yes, I actually bring my money to deals, but we also show you how to use creative financing. And then we show you how to turn those deals into money. We show you how to do all this with all these different laws. Now again, you have an attorney or in this case, like a prepaid legal service that makes sure that you're on the up and up in every single situation. We're going to show you how to navigate. Like, hey, this is what other people have done. This is how we solved this in Oregon, or this is where we solved this in Nebraska. We help you every step of the way because when you win, we win. When you succeed, we succeed. So that's what we're doing. We're doing what we love. Brian and I love to share this knowledge. We love to be with you on nights like tonight to help you overcome challenges you may have. But then we love working with people and starting them off brand new and turning them into money-making machines. And then when they win, we win. It's why we've been so successful for over 2 decades. In a business, as you said, Brian, a lot of people come and go. I mean, literally by the thousands. The names of the people that were teaching people real estate, that were authors and books 20 years ago, they're still alive today. They're just not doing it. We are. We've created a mechanism that has tremendous longevity because everybody wins. Okay, so if you'd like to learn more about this apprentice program, about working with me and my team, then what I want you to do is I want you to select yes right here on the poll that just popped up. And what will happen is when you select yes, our team can reach out to you. I'm also going to give you an opportunity before that happens to either talk to one of my team members tonight or schedule a call for later. But we want you to be fully informed on what it is to be a part of this program, because when you are, you're empowered to make a bold and an effective decision, and when you do that, well, then that's when the money starts coming, right? When you start putting deals together with us behind you, and then that's when that's when lives are changed. Tonight, we actually had a special guest who at the last minute had to cancel. But just about every one of these, we have a special guest. Next week and the weeks after, we'll have special guests. These are people that have been in our program, made a bunch of money, and are sharing their story. We have them all throughout our website and our real deals. We've transformed the lives of so many people across the United States with our program. At the end of the day, Brian, many of America's most successful investors got their start with us. They're scattered all across the United States, and you could be next. All right. Well, for those of you that would like to learn more, next would be, would you rather connect with us right now or schedule for later? Go ahead and you, select that right there. And then our team will reach out to you. If you selected schedule for later, I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Our team is available here to connect with you and show you and just answer your questions and show you how our program might be the very thing you've needed, the very thing that could change your world, like it did for me with my mentor. Look, as iron sharpens iron, one woman sharpens another. Uh, nobody's an island. You don't figure these things out. You need somebody there. In this case, you have an entire team behind you. That's how I got to where I'm at. That's where how Brian got to where he's at. And that's your path too. Okay. So if you'd like to schedule for later, please take a look inside there in the chat. There's going to be a link, schedule right there. Thank you, Stephanie. That's that link to schedule. And yeah, when you schedule, it'll be most convenient for you. Also, something's popping up there. Get mentored by Phil. Go ahead and schedule your time to connect with our team, and we look forward to helping you decide if this is the right fit for you. Brian, all these years, one of the things that's made such an impact to me is when people tell me, Phil, I got into this to make a lot of money. I didn't realize all of the other things I was going to grow from as a result, the kind of person I became as a result of making $500,000 in real estate. And you've heard some of that too, right?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when you're making money, we create win-win situations, which means we're solving a seller's problems.
Yeah,
And along the way, you get to help people. You get hugs at closing. People bring you food, and they're just overjoyed because you made a difference in their life when they didn't think there was an answer, and they were praying, and you show up. So it's
yeah,
a wonderful thing. You grow individually. It transforms everyone's life. it really is the best small business there is.
And as you all have seen tonight, there are many ways to go wrong too, right? So just because this is the best business, small business in America, doesn't mean it's not without its challenges. And if you don't have the right team behind you, you're better off not engaging. You're better off doing something different. This is not for the faint of heart. It's for somebody that's got the right people behind them to show them exactly what to do and what to avoid. And you know what? So often, the difference between making $50,000 on a real estate deal and not is just a couple of key details. We've watched it over thousands and thousands and thousands of deals. So either do it right or don't do it at all. To do it right, you do that with us. All right, y'all. Well, next up, there's going to be some videos of some people sharing their experience and working with us. I'll be backstage. Brian will be as well if you have some additional questions. Um, but feel free to schedule to connect with us right there at freedommentor.com/schedule. And also, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. I hope you gained a lot. I hope you saw that there are a lot of laws coming out, but there's a lot of benefits to that as well. Because if you play your cards right, it becomes a big win. All right. Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. And thanks everybody. All right, stick around and I'll be backstage. Shoot us any other questions you got here in the chat. Thanks, y'all.